Hello, hello. It looks like we are live. So I'm going to do a quick check, everyone. Happy to see you. I'm going to make sure that we are live in the Facebook group because I was getting messages that I am blocked in the group. So given that this is a third party, we shall see if it comes through. But either way, we're going to talk a little bit about money and energetics today, money and energetics, because this has been coming up for some of my people recently, and I thought it was a good time to circle back. I think it's been since December since I talked about money. And, you know, for some people, it's a sore spot. People are starting to talk about it more openly and more often now. So we shall just see how this all plays out. All right, it looks like I am in the group. Beautiful. All right, Facebook gets so crazy sometimes. So I have a workshop coming up next week. I'll just lead in with that, the Aligned Identity Workshop. And I've been responding to so many DMs and messages, and I'm not surprised that Facebook has gotten a little sideways at me around this. And it ties into what we're going to talk about today, because money, right, our money stories can be a part of our subconscious identity. So, you know, if you're catching this over on Facebook, if you're catching it on LinkedIn, wherever you might be, if you have had money stories show up for you, just comment. Comment if money stories have shown up for you anywhere in your life. So a lot of people, you know, they think of money in terms of either I have it or I don't have it. It comes into my life, it leaves just as fast, or it doesn't come into my life at all. And we really get to look at these things and see what it means, because the things that we say to ourselves around money, we create that, right? And we don't like to think that we create everything in our life, but we actually do. You heard me talk about the reticular activating system in other videos. If you go to, I want to say it's the third guide, I talk about the subconscious. And I know I go in depth about the reticular activating system in one of the videos. The things that we say about money program us for the way that we look at money, our relationship about money. And when it comes to money stories and energetics and frequency around money, it's not just limited to people who maybe don't have more than enough money. One of the most common fears in people who are ultra rich and wealthy is that they will lose it all. And I know that it probably seems a little far-fetched, but it's actually true. The majority of entrepreneurs, the majority of millionaires, excuse me, are actually self-made. In other words, the money wasn't given to them and they worked to get to where they are. They created that success. So along the way, you work through stories around money, you work through feelings and emotions around money, what that money means about you, but we can have these imprints that follow us our entire life. For example, I once had a client that reached out to me specifically around money. This person was an executive in a family business. They ran their own business, but they had carried these stories since childhood from just the family dynamic, that people who had money weren't good people. Even though the family was very comfortable themselves, there was just a story that was passed along that, you know, people who had a lot of money, they weren't good people. Maybe they couldn't be trusted. Maybe they didn't get it honest. We can also pick up money stories if we have If we have a family member who works in like seasonal work, I've seen this with clients too, a parent who maybe works in construction, it can be very seasonal, it can be feast or famine. So when the construction and contracting work is going really well, there is plenty of money. And then like when the cold or the wet season hits or whatever the case may be, the economy shifts, then there's that loss of income. There might be tapping into community resources to survive, those types of things. And we can carry those imprints for feast or famine with us. Okay. Sometimes stories around money aren't about money at all, and I will get to that later. But what this does is on a subconscious level, even though we consciously may know that money's not a bad thing, money's a good thing, right? As entrepreneurs, we know that money gives us leverage to help more people. We can donate to charities. I was just listening to someone the other day that, their business donates just one of their businesses donates $500,000 a year in charitable funds to an organization. So it allows us to have a great deal of impact. And not to say that you have to have a lot of money to make impact, but if many people donate a little bit, collectively, that makes a huge impact, right? So where was I going with this? Money is not good or bad. Money is energy. Money is frequency. And consciously, we can work through a lot of these things, but we can hit the sticky point where we feel that there's just something else there. Like the money just isn't that easy. And we can look at money as there's so much that comes in, and as soon as it comes in, it goes out, right? And we start to tell ourselves, I can never have enough money. I never have enough money. And we literally perpetuate the cycle. The words that we say to ourselves have frequency and vibration, and money is energy. So when we say these things, we are sending that out. The other thing that can impact us is something, it was interesting. It happened earlier this week. And I was working with someone around a money story, and it actually had nothing to do with money at all. And this goes to show you how the subconscious mind can connect things together that don't necessarily belong together. The dots that were connected is that money represented safety. More than enough money represented safety, right? And through some convoluted way, the mind had attached money, having more than enough money, to this belief that there was a lack of worthiness around feeling safe. And I know that sounds strange, but sometimes this happens, where we sort through and we attempt to work through a problem consciously, and we end up tying things together that on a subconscious level that don't belong, because we're attempting to process, we're attempting to access memories and to see, where did this come from? And the mind will notice that things resonate on the same frequency, and it will incorrectly connect those things together. So what do I mean? I talked about money being energy, frequency, vibration. Our words are frequency and vibration, and here's how that happens. When we tell ourselves a story, when we use words or our thoughts inside of our own mind to describe our circumstances, our situation, it creates an emotional response. And that emotional response generates a chemical response in the body. And it's that chemical response that carries the frequency that we send out. Okay. So that's where we get this concept of emotional resonance. We can have two situations that create the same emotional feeling that have nothing to do with each other, but they stick. When we're going through a process of the mind subconsciously attempting to make sense of something, it will connect two things together that do not belong together, right? And when you're thinking of money, just think in terms of abundance, right? So maybe you don't like thinking in terms of money. You can think in terms of abundance. This applies to your health. This applies to your relationships. This applies to other things in your life that you desire more of, or a better situation around. But for this person, like, it was mind blowing. And this is why I say, when you work with a hypnotist, you want to work with someone that doesn't have a preconceived notion of where the problem started. Like, I can have ideas, like I've been sharing ideas with you in all of these lives that I do in this group around, based on my experience, some of these things cropped up from, but I don't make assumptions on where those things come from. I don't make assumptions, because once I make an assumption, it can derail the work that we go together. I am open to the possibility that it could be this direction, but it could completely be another direction, right? So how does having more than enough money get tied to an unworthiness of feeling safe? Like, how can that happen? Well, I don't know how the unworthiness piece came in there, but I've seen it too many times. I understand how the safety piece came into it, because depending on the environment that we grow up in, say, for example, the example I gave you earlier about one of the parents is in construction and work is feast or famine. So there are periods where there's more than enough money, and then there are periods where there's no work, right? What we become conditioned to, okay, subconsciously, what's imprinted on us through the emotions of our family members and those around us, is that the money can come in and the money can be good. But whenever the money's good, you can count on the money leaving and they're being bad. And because of the emotional discomfort of when the money runs out, right? The brain's like, well, I don't want to go through that feeling again of the money running out. So if I never have more than enough money to begin with, I don't ever have to worry about the money running out. And that's an example of how a subconscious belief can get embedded in that place, right? Other times that money, so we've tied it to like this unworthiness of feeling safe and secure. If more than enough money is tied to feeling safe, think Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Safety and security, finances, food, water, those are our basic needs. And the more closely tied a belief is to those basic needs, the more strongly the mind is going to work to hold on to it, because it's perceived to be necessary for survival. So with this sense of safety, right, there was also this other connection that had nothing to do with money, where there was this impression that I'm not allowed to feel safe, right? Safety doesn't exist for me. So if safety doesn't exist for me and I'm not allowed to feel safe, I must not be worthy of feeling safe. And none of it makes any sense. It doesn't have to make sense. The beautiful thing is, if this is something that's going on underneath the surface, it can be eliminated. It can be gotten rid of. It doesn't have to be lived with. So when you think about money, really think about the stories you say to yourself. Do you have insecurities around money? Are you afraid of the money running out, right? Especially if you're wealthy and you're afraid of the money running out. it's not about the money. There's something there for you to explore about yourself. Do you trust yourself? I mean, if you created a multi 7, 8, 9-figure business, if you created that for yourself, right? And I mean, of course, other people help you, but if you have the ideas and the tenacity and the network to grow that, what would cause you to think you couldn't do it again? It's not like if something did happen that you lost the skills. I mean, look at Donald Trump. At one point, he was bankrupt. In like within a year or two, he was back to a net worth over $1 billion. I may have the exact numbers off, but what the point I'm making is it didn't take him long to go from bankruptcy to turning that around and having that net worth again. And there are many, many, many business people who go through and do those things. He just had the identity of someone who could turn that around and recreate that wealth. So we get to look at what are the stories we have that we're aware of and use those to explore what might be going on subconsciously. What makes me say this? What makes me believe this? And there are many, many times when we're going through these money stories that we can uncover a lot, but there are things that are deeper down. And this is when hypnosis comes in and is quite powerful to uncover those things, because most of the time if there's something surprising there, there's two dots that would not have been connected otherwise. So when you're looking at money and you are looking at what you have coming into your life, what's flowing in and what's flowing out, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking at what you're doing and you're saying to yourself, money's going out faster than it comes in. Well, first of all, we get to choose to have a responsible relationship with money. That's one piece of it. So this one piece, we get to look at it, right? Am I being responsible with my money? Am I being respectful of my money? However, if you are being totally responsible and respectful of your money, maybe the issue isn't the money going out, right? Maybe the issue isn't that it's leaving you. Maybe the issue is that we're turning a blind eye to the things that we can do to bring more money in. So it's not always about the money going out. It might be about the money going in. And are you seeing the opportunities that are there for you? Are you following through on those opportunities? Have you embraced the identity of someone who believes that you can be creative in ways to serve others, to have that impact, and in return, have that exchange coming into your life? Now, we can't have a conversation around money and stories around money without talking about the money and the abundance. I want to say abundance because things don't always come in the measure of cash. Okay, money doesn't always come as cash. We get to look at the ways that abundance shows up in our life without us having to do anything. Just this past week, I had several sales in my business that were completely passive. They were on the back end. I didn't promote what was sold. It happened, right? And there was another situation with a business. There was a tech issue. It was a coding issue. Just so happened that when I started using their software, it uncovered this glitch. I messaged them. It took them 2 or 3 days to fix it. They actually had to reach out to their developers. And in return, they gave me an upgrade in their product worth several $100s. So I have access to an upgrade in their product, which now gives me the opportunity to create other things for the people that I work with. Then you may have someone who is aware that you have something and they may approach you and say, hey, you know what? I noticed that you have this. Would you be interested in selling it? Right? So money can come in that way as well, in terms of gifts and gift cards and discounts. I love my husband dearly. I used to love to go shopping with coupons. And I could just score some really good hauls on clothes for the kids when you've got 3 growing boys and they're needing a new size of shoes every 6 months. And I could really go in and I had aced this stuff. And he's like, it doesn't matter that you're getting a discount. You didn't save anything if you weren't going to spend the money anyway. I'm like, well, the kids were going to grow. We were going to end up spending the money anyway. It's just, if I do it now, we save a few $100s. Whereas if I waited 2-3 months, I would have to pay full price. So discounts on something that you've planned on investing in, that counts as abundance coming into your life too. So just think about those things around how you feel about money, because some people have stories around getting discounts. I went through this with my mother a year or so ago with prescriptions. You know, there's a card that you can get. If you're on Medicare, there's a card that you can get, and you actually get a discount through the pharmaceutical companies if you use that card when you go to pick up your medications. And she didn't want to use it. And we really went back and forth, and it was my aunt who finally got her to understand. She thought it was charity. She didn't want to use the discount because she thought it was charity. And she grew up with the story that you were responsible and you support yourself. You do not fall back on charity. You don't let other people support her. So that's another story, depending on what generation you come up in or what generation your parents came up in, that you may have. You may have a story that it's okay for you to give, but you can't receive, right? It might feel like you're putting other people out if they're giving you things, right? And these stories that we have around receiving can trickle over into our bank accounts, right? Let's see, I got off track with that story. I was talking about discounts, but look at the stories you tell yourself. Know that that's the energy, the frequency, and the vibration you're putting out around money and abundance. And I actually have somebody in mind I might bring into this group, and we'll just do a session together one of these Wednesdays talking about money, because this person has some really interesting takes on money and abundance. And I don't want to take that from that person because I tend to look at it more from the subconscious perspective. My friend tends to look at it more from the energetic perspective. So I think the two of us can probably come together and do something really cool for all of you, and let you kind of pile in and be a part of the call. We'll see. I can't make any promises, but that would be abundance in and of itself. So when people are willing to share with you of their time and their talents, that is abundance, right? When you're sharing with people your time and your talents, whatever that might be, you're also sending out into the universe. We tend to focus on money, but it's so much more than money. And yes, Cindy. So I would just really encourage you to take a look at that, unravel it, get curious around what goes on for you there. I know I kind of really talked in circles a little bit here, and sometimes that's just the way my mind processes information and the way that it brings things out. Maybe I'll do a post here in the group one day of all the different money stories I've helped people uncover. But this is one I want to leave you with. We get imprinted in our childhood around what's comfortable and what is safe. And our brain determines what is comfortable and what is safe based on what is familiar. We're all have heard about getting outside of your comfort zone. If being in financial struggle when you were growing up, if seeing your parents be in financial struggle or be in stress around money, if that was familiar to you, You learned how to handle that as a child. So your brain knows what to do with financial struggle. That means financial struggle is familiar to you. So having more than enough can simply be unfamiliar and absolutely nothing more than that. Okay, leave you with that. All right, so next week I have the Aligned Identity Workshop. I think most everybody, a lot of people in this group have signed up. Facebook is trying to put me in Facebook jail because I have responded to so many messages in the last 2 days. So what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to have my assistant Landon post the link for the workshop here in this group. I know I messaged some of you, but I don't know if Facebook is now going to let those of you who've replied to me. I don't know that Facebook is going to let me reply back to you because I might be in jail. So we're going to post the link here in the group, or just click the banner at the top of the group. The link to join is in the description of the image, and you can join us that way. I will attempt to reach out to people in Messenger, but who knows what goes on with Facebook. So that's the first thing, the Aligned Identity Workshop. We're going to break down your current reality. We're going to look at the impact of subconscious values, the identity of where you want to be, and where to begin shifting those stories. I have a couple of cool bonus meetings that we're going to have, and more details will be coming out about that at the end of next week. But to get the bonus sessions, you are going to have to be registered for the workshop, because I don't want to bombard everyone in here with all of the lives that will be taking place. So I would love to see you there. If you're like, you know what, Penny, forget the workshop, I want to know how I can connect with you and work with you. I work with clients in a lot of different ways in a one-to-one capacity. It's highly individualized to you and what you're dealing with. Some people need a quick hit, and other people are looking for more long-term work. So there's no way I can determine the best way to help you achieve your goals without a call. So if you're interested in a call, just comment below, connect, and I will get you the link to schedule a call, and we can set that up. So it's been wonderful to chat with all of you today about money. Hopefully my convoluted ring around the rosy conversation here, dating myself there, I helped to stir something up for you and give you some insight around your money stories and what you have going on in your life. It just popped up the message that I'm blocked again. So anyway, I will see you all next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. Bye now.